On today's episode of the DNVR Avalanche podcast, we talk about a potential injury to Erik Brännström and look at who the final cuts might be in that battle for the forward roster spots. Let's start the show. Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast. We got Eric, we got Rudo. We're coming to you live on a practice day for the Colorado Avalanche. Chat already talking about the potential Erik Brännström injury. Obviously didn't look good, but he did skate off under his own power, so it's not anything crazy. You know how I feel about this. It stinks.
That's when you know what, they didn't get on the ice till like 45 minutes late. They had a meeting, and as I was walking down the stairs, heard the commotion, and then I was like, oh, he's down, you know. Then I took the helicopter, here, and here I am, you know what I mean, for this. But hey, listen, it doesn't matter. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but injuries happen, right? I mean, They do, and they will keep happening, and it's life in the NHL. And again, knock on wood, that nothing serious for him.
It's a reason they were planning on running 8D anyway, right?
But
obviously, you wish nothing but the best for Brännström. Hopefully, he's fine and back tomorrow. But we don't have an update on that yet. And you guys know how the Avs are with injury updates. Everyone's day to day until they're not.
Easiest way to do it. Right? I can't blame them. I love it.
Easy for them, frustrating for us.
Yes,
that's the way it goes. Brännström was an interesting one. I think. We've all kind of been talking about it developing towards maybe Malinsky and DeHaan standing out the most so far this preseason anyway. So I don't know that significantly affected the opening night roster, but as long as it's not a serious injury, he'll be back healthy and get games in the lineup within the first month of the season, I would assume.
I mean, here's the way I look at it. Like, I think you got we all know that Taze and Makar works, right? We all know that Gerard Manson works. And then it's a matter of figuring out the rest of the guys. Everybody's going to play. Everyone's going to get in. There's always one guy injured. It's just the way it is. It's life in the NHL. So you sleep better at night. If you're Chris MacFarland, you do, because I think that this is the nicest depth they've had in a long time. Even the McDonald's and Rosens and Sean Barons, and you're talking about, I don't know, 10 deep, right? You know what I mean? And when you're guys that can pitch in a game. I'm not saying every game, and play 25 minutes a night, but you feel pretty confident. You feel pretty good, and that's why none of those 8 guys, I'm talking about Malinsky, they're not going to be sent down. They got to clear waivers. They're going to get picked up on waivers, so that's not going to happen. So. Those guys are going to be here, and I think it does bring out the best in you. We talked about it this summer. Competition brings out the best in you as a player. You can only control what you can control, and it's your play. You know what I mean? And if your play stinks, then you're not going to play. If your play is not up to snuff or what they want here as an organization, from the coaching staff on, then you're not going to play. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's fine that there's a little crowded blue line. I love it, because you imagine if we're talking about Rudo, it's not really crowded. It's a little thin on the blue line.
Better,
and I'd be like,
better problem to have too many than not enough.
And I'd rather have that up front that we'll talk about, right? A little bit thinner, because you can always figure out a way up front. Back end is tough. It's like goaltending, and back end is like, it's the foundation of your house, right? So the rest you'll figure it out, especially when you have McKinnon and Rantanen. You can figure it out.
So let me ask you this then. We saw the Avs put a bunch of guys on waivers yesterday. Yep. You have this Brännström, whatever it is. You have however you feel about the Avs forwards, which we'll get into in a little bit. But before we do, how aggressive should the Avs be with potential waiver claims over the next week?
Well, here's the way I look at it. I've always looked at it that way. Waivers is, as we all know, when you claim someone, then you have to drop someone, right? So,
and that's why I want to talk about this first.
That's it. And you're right. And I think it's all situational. I hate that word, but it's so true. I mean, it's if the player that you're looking at there's two parts to it. If the player you're looking at is better than, let's say, you or me, and then we gotta drop one of us to make room for this guy.
Yep.
And then B, are you the only team that's putting a claim in, right? I mean, there's
And the Avs are pretty far down that list.
They are pretty down. And it resets itself. So I don't even know what the waiver list is at. I don't even know if it's available. But meaning like what's the
based
pecking
on last
order?
year's finish. So
yeah, what's last year's finish? But when you claim someone, you go back in the queue. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
right, you know what I mean. So it's never just by looking at the standings upside down. It's not. But again, people are always, oh my God, you should have claimed it. Well, I know, but another team, you did put a claim in. They just won't tell you. Why would they tell you info that's not needed and say, oh, we did put a claim in, but Ottawa was higher on the list, and then they snagged them. So I think it's important to look at. I think that's where pro scouting comes into hand. That's where your reports over the years come into handy. But I do believe that I think on the back end, they're not looking at anything. I think on the goaltending side, again, it's no offense to Kevin or any one of those guys. It's just there's not a lot of games played. There's not a lot of games played when it comes down to the goalie 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a lot of people, great guys, great kids. From the Utah is going to be stacked with goalies. The Eagles are going to be stacked. So there's going to be a crowded creases there. But me, it's more looking at it as we all know that Eustace does not have a boatload of games. Yep. And now you're talking about Kevin, I think, as 2, right? I mean, that's your third guy. So look no further than Boston a few minutes ago just picked up your Patera, right? Why? I mean, what? But at the end of the day, Swayman is not there, so you're down one goalie on your depth. So now you have Bussy. You know what I mean? Like, so do they think that Patera, they have to keep him now?
that is how waivers work.
That's right. And then if it goes back down, then Vancouver can snag him because that's where he came from, right? Vancouver, correct? Yeah, Vancouver. I played in Vegas. We all know that, but Vancouver. But Bussy, does he clear waivers? Boston. I mean, I don't know. Probably. He had a great game.
I'd say
probably, but I'm just saying, like, right? Because
you never know. That's the whole point of waivers.
That's right. Whoever claims him has to put him on their roster, right? That's where last year with the Prespatov, right? You know what I mean? Like, you know, situation and whatever it was. But yeah, I think it's important to look at everything and go from there. You know.
All right. I don't see how the Avs have room to claim a goalie. I really don't. Unless you're just kicking in into the curb, basically.
I'll be shocked if they do. But I've been saying all along, I can't back off from that I would sleep better. I would sleep better if there was an extra guy. You know what I mean? I just would. Now, I don't think that's what they're going to do because I think they've already crowded the creases down there. But I think they're just going to run with it, and you know, and that's fine. That's all good.
I got to tell you, bud, if you're sleeping good, I think you're not an NHL GM, probably.
They don't sleep. I know that. It's a crazy job. I tell C-Mac all the time, you are nuts. I don't know how you do that job.
So this is just speculating here. I'm not.
Yep.
We don't have any information on Erik Brännström, but let's say he is going to miss some time.
Sure.
Does that change the math at all on that back end, or are you happy to call up a Callie Rosen or a Jacob McDonald?
Yeah, I think that's why you go 8 deep. Okay. You know what I mean? I think that's why you go 8 deep. Depending on the salary cap, we all know that the handcuffs have been put on, right? As we know, do you carry no extra forward? You know, maybe not. You know, probably not. Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
It's highly likely they're already planning.
But
to
now
not
again,
carry an
if
extra
Brännström's
forward.
again, we're all speculating on Brännström. He could be back at practice tomorrow. I don't know. I just left it, and then we'll see what. You know, let's say Brännström's out he goes on IR just to start. Then you can carry an extra forward, right? You know, and then you carry your 7D, right?
Sure.
And that's why you have 8.
7-13, yeah.
That's why you have 8. And then all of a sudden, whoever, we're not assuming it's Brännström, Mr. X, he's out for a week. Great, awesome. Then you go down to 7, and then you play with it. And then you have your McDonald's and Rosens and Barons, and, you know, for call-ups, right?
Yep.
Who else was, Sean, whatever, Middleton. I mean, you know, whatever. You know, I mean, yeah.
They're 13 deep. They're in trouble no matter what.
Yeah. Then we're going to be like, we're going to make a trade here.
So definitely would get tough at that level. But I tend to agree. Obviously, hopefully Brännström's fine, like we said. But the Avs, certainly on that side of things, I don't think need to be particularly aggressive on waivers. Now, if someone they feel like they absolutely have to have and is an upgrade, of course you should be putting a claim in. But like you said, Avs are, I think, like 23rd or 24th when it comes to the waiver wire list, or maybe it's the same as the draft. I actually forget. They might be like 27th. Either way, they're very far down that list. So anyone that is an NHL surefire player, unlikely to end up with the Avs when it comes to waivers.
But that's why you can't plan. I think you have to get ready for waivers, but you can't plan that it fixes your problem, right? Because it's never a sure bet. Because unless you know you're dead last in the league and you do have first pick, then you can say, okay,
then
I got
take
these
whoever you
right,
want.
That's my point. So that's not the Avs problem. I mean, not problem. That's not the Avs case. Sorry.
Couple of questions in the chat here. Andrew saying, how many games does Lehkonen need to miss for the Avs to do retractive LTIR? It's 28 days or 10 games, I believe, that has to be missed by the player, which will not happen with Lehkonen. He's too close.
Yeah, even today, I think he took off the red jersey there for a bit. So
I mean, he was practicing with the guys at very least.
Yeah, we even took off the red jersey. So, I mean,
picture you sent me, he had the red jersey.
No, that was early. That was early. Yeah, but then he switched. I saw him switch too. Okay. I saw it.
Either way, too close to
LTIR
he's
to be a realistic option. Yeah, I think he's getting there. I mean, this guy might miss a game or two or three, whatever. Again, we're speculating. I hate that because we don't know the real. We know the injury. We just don't know the timeline of the rehab.
You're not practicing with the team if you're going to miss another 30 days.
Well, let's put it this way. And again, it's not to be a downer, but you don't see Gabe out there practicing, so therefore he's not close.
Correct.
Right? You know what I mean? Yeah. So then, like an out there skating is, you're close. So that's kind of how you judge it. It's very easy to see.
Yeah. LTIR just not a realistic option there. I think that's safe to say. Theoretically, the Avs could probably LTIR him retroactively right away, but it wouldn't matter because LTIR doesn't come into effect until, I want to say, tomorrow is the it's weird because there are teams in Europe that have to have their lineups submitted already, but the teams that don't start until the 9th might not be until the 5th that they need to submit them. So it's
a lot of technicalities.
It's a little messy this year. But either way, the LTIR retroactive would not be particularly effective for the Lehkonen situation.
And then we're confidence about the forwards. Is that what that is? If I'm reading that correctly?
Yeah. That was the other. Someone wanted to get confident about the forwards. We're going to get into the full forward conversation in a second here, but when you have a lineup that starts with Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen, it's okay to be confident. Those guys will win games by themselves. So.
You got Mikko. We'll say it again. Mikko, you got Mac. So you got 2 of the top 10 forwards in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you think of the team. You like them or daily face-off picks them to be later and struggle to make the playoffs. At the end of the day, those guys can win games on their own. And it's been proven time and time and again. Now, they also have one of the most solid back end of 8 that we just talked about. Decor in the National Hockey League. You do that, you can win games. Mm-hmm. And the goaltending's okay, right? I mean, it's not the greatest, but it's fine, But you can win games with what they have. You can win games with, as we've seen, Gabe not being there over 2 years, and the Val, and that hurts. Yeah, because it hurts because you can't really replace them because of the situations of the handcuffs that C-Mac was put in. But somehow it gives an opportunity for different people, like whether it's Middlestat, whether it's guys like that to pick up some offense and go from there. I feel good about the Avs offense. What I'm saying is it's not set in stone. And for a long time, it's been a long time where there's been holes, right? We'll talk about them, but there's literally probably 3 holes to fill, give and take, at least.
Yeah.
Where it's realistically before you were like, oh, there's no room. We all know what the team is. It's this, and that. Where today it's a little bit of battling, which I like because it brings the best out of players. But I feel good about the forward core. I do.
Yeah. Are they the deepest forward core in the world?
No.
But they have the plenty of pieces, particularly once Lehkonen gets back. Maybe depending on how some of these players look, there's that 1 second line spot that you're really worrying about filling. But every team in the league has a bunch of guys rotating through their fourth line. So that's just how it is at the bottom of a lineup. So We'll get into it in a minute, like I said.
yeah,
Before we do, we are presented by Bet365. Make sure you are using Bet365. Sign up with the DNVR365 code today. You bet $5 on anything with that new account and DNVR365 code, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Or if you want to go high risk, you can also sign up for their first bet safety net offer up to $1,000. So you can bet a big old bet with some high risk on it, and if it doesn't hit, you'll get that bet back. Super great with Bet365. Tons of different bets to go on. I was actually just talking with Dre earlier today about getting the DNVR bet set up for the Avs opening night. So keep an eye out for the DNVR bet there. Little spoiler alert, it's going to be involving a Nathan McKinnon goal, which is more likely than not to happen based on last season. So jump on with Bet365. Use that QR code right on screen to download today and use that DNVR365 code. Of course, when you do sign up, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. Then, once you've got all your bets set up, make sure you're also actually enjoying the game you bet on. Kick back, relax, open up a Coors Light, and chill. Coors Light, the beer literally made to chill. The mountains turn blue on the bottle or the can to let you know it's ice cold. Yeah, look at that. We got the Coors Light sign right back there in Studio B. Looking good out here. It's the beer I reach for when I'm chilling. You'll see me drinking them on wash-alongs all year long, enjoying Avalanche games. And the coolest part about Coors Light is you don't even have to get up off your couch to get some. CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Instacart will deliver it right to your front door. It's just that easy to enjoy your hockey and drink your Coors Light. Of course, when you do drink Coors Light, please party responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Eric, couple of conversations I want to have. You kind of called it in last night's post-game podcast. Not 10 minutes after we ended, the Avs cut Jason Polin, Jean-Luc Foudy, Yuri Inola, all sent down to the Eagles.
Yep.
I don't think any big surprises there for you.
Not for me.
Okay.
But I just, in connection with that, I was just at the family sports, right? And you could tell it's got a different smell today. You know what I mean? Not because they lost games, because it's time to dial it in, right? You know what I mean? And you could tell that the meeting that they had was probably about that. I'm sure it might have been something else too in the program. That's nothing to do with the games, but you could tell that Bednar, he had the look on like that. We're going to work. We're going to put the working boots on the next few days. We're going to get ready. We're going to hit the pavement running next week. And you could tell it was starting with today's practice. They were humming the first couple drills. Then they were working hard on 5-on-5 situations. And this is where Brännström got hurt or whatever. Again, we're here now. I can't tell you anymore what's going on. But as far as last night, and you got to get down to your numbers. You know what I mean? Like, as a coach, you got to get down to your numbers. So you see 10 guys, whatever it is last night, you got to get down to one group. You got to get down to, let's get down to nitty gritty. Let's look at really what is going to be our roster to start the season and, who's going to win those spots. And I think that today it started on the right foot. They looked like they were, changing a couple things. We'll talk about that. And then, which I like. And then, but as far as surprises, I didn't have a, when the email came in last night after, we left each other, I wasn't surprised. I mean, we made fun of myself yesterday, right? The JYD, junkyard dog. Like, I didn't see a junkyard dog out there yesterday trying to make that, go after that bone out there. Honestly, I didn't. And it's no offense to anybody, but I didn't see anyone that's desperately trying to make an NHL roster. And if you don't see that, you're going to be on that email that says you've been cut and, you got to drive down the highway to go down to, wonderful part of the world, Loveland, married a girl from there. It's all good. But, it's a disappointment when you don't stick around with the NHL roster.
Yeah, I think you had kind of had the beat on that one for most of the preseason with some guys that may have had some opportunity that let it slip. But I want to talk about the one guy that is still with the Avs that maybe... let me just ask you. Ivan did not get cut. Still with the Avs.
Yep.
Is he here realistically in a battle for a roster spot? Or is this a, hey, we appreciate you've outplayed some of these guys. We're going to keep you around for a little bit longer. But realistically, you're down the lineup still.
And I'm glad you brought him up because I'm going to use a couple examples like, of why I think it's a little bit of both of what you just said. not a cop-out answer. It's just realistic answer. When you're a guy like him that's never been drafted, is a late bloomer, all of a sudden you go play in juniors, right, and you get 20-some points. Then the year after you get 60 or 70, and then your last year you get 90, and then all of a sudden you come as an invite to a camp like this, and you're offered an American League deal, and then you work your way in, and you're so smart, high hockey IQ, but just does the right things. Out if you're a coaching staff, you're like, oh, I like this guy because why? You're trustworthy, right? You're trustworthy. That's what happened with Schneekloth last year and him. And then all of a sudden, oh, let's get him an NHL deal. Why? Because we don't have to wait 2-3 years, or guys going to college, or he's going to spend the next 3 years in junior. He's already there. He's already a 21-year-old kid last year, whatever it was. Now you're looking at it and you're like, why not? Bednar talked about it yesterday. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what round you were drafted. And that's the hardest part for people to understand. Oscar Olofsson, he's a first rounder, and look, he's gone, and then Ivan never drafted. Exactly. Because what have you done for me lately? That's what a coach will ask a player, because the coach will put someone out there that's trustworthy, that got to make him win games. Because if he doesn't win games, he's got to go see his wife and his kids. I got fired. You know what I mean? So a coach has a hard job, because I always tell people, do you think the coach is trying to screw you or whatever it is? They're not. They're trying to put the best people out there because their jobs depend on it. So Ivan is a trustworthy guy. Go back to old guys, old names like Stefan Yell or whatever. Same thing. 20 points, 50 points, 90 points. All of a sudden, very trustworthy, very smart. Come in the NHL, you're asked to score about 5 goals a year. You're not asked to bring offense, but you're asked to bring some intelligent play and some safe play. And then next thing you know, he's still around. So the answer to your question is, yeah, it's more like you've done good so far, but I do believe they're going to use him. I do believe they're going to use him. Is it at the start? It happened to me. Same thing, same background, same thing. Except I was drafted. It was a little different, but all of a sudden and then you get sent down. You're disappointed, but they're like, we'll have you back. And I was back. You know what I mean? And because you made an impression, make them make decisions. Sometimes it's not immediate, but they make room for you down the road.
And here's why I think that's the plan. It's exactly what you said. Be trustworthy. And I think, yeah, you can argue Ivan is outplayed and is maybe more trustworthy than a Jason Poland has been in this preseason. But what Ivan, nothing he can do about this. He's got a 0 in NHL games played.
Yep.
And you look at a Parker Kelly.
Yep.
Over 100 NHL games played. You look at a Yoel Kiviranta. Mm-hmm. You look at a Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, 700 games played in that case. Yep. It's not even close.
Uh-huh.
It's really hard to get those games notched under your belt.
Yep.
And regardless of how I feel, how you feel, how anyone who's scouting feels, head coaches are going to go with the guys they trust, and the guys they trust are the ones they play in NHL games. So a 0 is hard to overcome there.
It is hard to overcome until you start playing games, right? And then when that is, it's out of your control.
Yep.
Focus on the task at hand. And that's it. And that's the only thing you can do. We told Sean Barons that, right? When he talked with us before camp started, like, at the end of the day, you can only do what you can only control what you can control. The rest you can't control. So if Ivan goes out there, like I said, all of a sudden, the Kibbies and guys like that, they have games, but you might need Ivan 20, 25, 30 games from now, because you know he's going to go down there. He's going to have the right attitude. That's if he goes down there, And then all of a sudden, you're going to get called up, and you better be ready. Yep. You bet. I use Tom Brady all the time. I don't care what people say about it. Tom Brady was ready for his opportunity. And when it came, he jumped on it, and he was never going to look back. And that's the attitude of a junkyard dog you got to have. I just didn't see that with some of those guys that were released yesterday. I see that a little bit with Ivan. I see that right now, which is very important, because if you want to do, you just got to be relentless in your in your pursuit of your opportunities, and you create your own opportunities. And I think that's what he's doing right now. We shall see if he'll be there next week. But if he's not there, he's certainly on their minds, and he will certainly be back.
My gut feel he's earned a position as a call-up option this year. I don't
100%.
See him making the opening night lineup. Yep. And part of that is, as we've mentioned, I think we both expect the Avs to not carry an extra forward to start the season.
That's right.
So a little bit tighter. You're either in the lineup or you're in the AHL. One of the two. Not don't have that extra spot in the press box. But
It's amazing, and Bednar touched on it yesterday. It was awesome. I love that he talked about it. And he's like, and he had his face like, I don't care where you played or what round you were drafted. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? And again, I use the word,
and he doesn't. I promise he doesn't.
He doesn't. And when I use the word silver spooner all the time, which I do for first round, it's just human nature, right? Because they're going to be pushed towards the front. You know, it's life. It's normal.
Yep.
But if you're not going to do the job, aka Oscar Olofsson, well, Bednar doesn't care that you're a first rounder. You're not doing it. Next, who's doing it? Oh, Ivan. Awesome. You've never been drafted. You're a junkyard dog out there. You know what you're doing. You're going out there. Yeah, I'll take you. There's no ifs and buts. That's just the way it works. And there's no babysitting in this league. There's no time. Like I said, jobs are at stake. I mean, there's no way. People don't have time. Again, if you're aspiring to the Stanley Cup, so much different than, let's say, the San Jose Sharks. No offense to the Sharks. They're just different aspirations this year, right? Avalanche, I don't care what Daily Faceoff says, are going to be there, and they'll be picked, one of the top 5 teams to win the Stanley Cup this year.
They're tied with Dallas to win the Central. So
there you go.
They're a top end team.
What do we know?
I wanted to expand this conversation to the top end here. Who was it in chat? Wayne says 1 line and 4 centers are known with 2 lines deep for D. Questions abound. I don't think there's actually that many questions left. Really, you have 2 lines pretty fully known for the Avs. Top line, McKinnon, Mikko, Druin. If you want to move them around in the top 6, whatever. You know those guys are going to be there. Yeah. And then you have the Colton, Wood, LOC line.
Yeah.
I think those 2 lines are pretty established now. Yeah. They're going to try some stuff here coming up, but
that's what I wanted to jump on from practice, right? So to your point right now, we all know it's the best third line in hockey. Awesome, real. But right now, how long is Lecky out for? Let's say they know more than we do. They just won't tell us. It's fine. They shouldn't tell us. But let's say it's 2 games.
I wish they'd tell us.
Let's say it's 2 games. Let's just make it simple. Okay. I got to go win those 2 games if I'm a coach, right? So now what you saw at practice, you saw Colton on the left side, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, not with his other 2 amigos, right?
Yeah.
And next thing you know, Ritchie's on the right side. And the middle stat now, that's been the helicopter line, right? He's by himself with no wings. You know what I mean? Now he's got Ritchie that's got high skill. You're talking about babysitting. No time for Coach Bednar to babysit.
Middle stat might be doing some babysitting.
Higher end talent can't teach that. You got the hands, Rudo. Rudo's got the hands, guys. I'm telling you, he just didn't have the IQ, and he was undisciplined. That's why he didn't make it. But
definitely undisciplined. That's true.
I'm sorry. I had one trait right. Scout took over. But that's why you're seeing that. A little bit of. We all know Lecky's got to be in there somewhere, right? You know what I mean? When he's back. So now you got to tinker a little bit. And then, again, you got the 9 games that we make such a big deal out of. You know what I mean? And I know that the Avalanche might come here soon and answer, like, guys, it's not a big deal, the 9 games. We really don't look into that in consideration. And I don't think you should either. I've always told you. Because you let things play themselves out. And sometimes burning that year ends up being in favor of the team. And we always think it's in favor of the player. That's if the guy torches the league and goes. But then again, when you see those guys that sign those bridge deals, like those 2 years, it's because they were not that successful, right? And those, again, you burn a year, so be it. For me, it's about living in the present. And you don't want to ruin the kid. You know what I mean? You want to make sure he is able to keep up in the National Hockey League. And if he can't, and he's got a different set of skills that other people have, he's different. He's high end. He's high end. He's the only option that's high end. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear Ross Colton. I love Ross, you know what I mean? But that is not the same type of skill that Ritchie brings and will bring in the National Hockey League. But now, Ross is more intense. Ross is probably more intelligent on the 200-foot game. We all know that. But it's just there's combinations that are at your disposition. And right now, there's some guys that are not there. And you can't replace them because of the salary cap. So you have to figure out if Ritchie's an option or not.
Yeah, and I'll be blunt. Long term, I don't see how Ritchie can stick if the Avs don't trust him to play at center.
I'm not necessarily arguing. I agree.
I could be wrong. Maybe he gets into the league and he just torches it on that right side, on that second line or something. Maybe it looks great and you just have to play him.
Sure.
But the math gets pretty tough for him when Lecky comes back. if one of Valor and Nichushkin can come back at some point. It gets really hard for Ritchie to exist in the lineup if he can't play at center.
And that's why I use that stupid line, the junkyard dog. He's going to be, I don't care that he's a first rounder and he's got high skill and he scored a nice goal in the breakaway. Awesome. Good for him. Right. Mm-hmm. But you got to be a junkyard dog. You got to go after that outside. You got to go after it on the ice. You got to make the coach come in and go, yeah, I think we have no choice. We have to keep him. Right. You know what I mean? But you got to go show that that's what you want. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping that we see that a little bit with the next couple of games. Not just be happy to be in the NHL to start the season, but you want to make a difference because you know there's a hole. It's a unique situation. It's not a situation that happens all the time. Because you're going to say, well, what are you talking about? Gabe's been gone 2 years and Val, I understand that. It's different. We all know that. We don't need to take the crayons out and explain that to everybody. At the end of the day, they just can't replace them because they're coming back, which is different than last year where Gabe wasn't coming back. You could put him out on TIR, put somebody else there. Not this year. And Gabe's earned that right to come back whenever he's ready. So let's put that aside. But it's still handcuffs, not Gabe's fault. But if I'm Ritchie, man, oh man, because he's different than the others.
Yep.
Right? He's different than the others. So let's go. Let's get after it.
The other side of this is there isn't really a conversation anymore about center. McKinnon, obviously, your 1C. Middlestat, obviously, your 2C. The reason they have Ross on the wing is because he's the only, one that they could theoretically move, and it makes sense in their lineup. Ultimately, I think Ross ends up being your 3C.
Yeah.
And then Belmar has locked up that 4C spot. And even Chris Wagner is probably your 5C.
Or Parker Kelly or whatever it is, right? I mean, we'll see how he does, right? I mean, has he played a game at center yet? Parker Kelly,
I think he played one at center.
My head's going everywhere. But, that's why you have 2 games here to dial in everything. Make sure you're all on the same page. Make sure the big boys are ready to go. Make sure your goaltending's ready to go. Make sure the D's know their reads. There's no more like, oh, I'm learning. It might take a little bit, but you got to be at least at a level where it's not going to affect the team. You know what I mean? On your reads and stuff like that. But let's tinker with the lines a little bit. Let's see what we have, and then we'll go from there.
Well, what can help you read? Prescription sunglasses from Shady Rays. When you're blind like Eric, you might need something like that. Not just prescription sunglasses, but polarized sunglasses. Something for everybody. Hundreds of different styles to choose from. And the coolest part is you can get in on their great new deal. Code DNVR for 35% off any pair of sunglasses, polarized even sunglasses from Shady Rays. You can head over to shadyrays.com to browse their selection. Join over 300,000 people that have rated them 5 stars. So they're pretty good sunglasses, and they're at a realistic price, too. Go check them out. Again, shadyrays.com. 35% off all of their polarized sunglasses with code DNVR. And the coolest part is, for the first 30 days, if you like them, or don't like them, rather, you break them or you lose them, they'll replace them entirely for free. So go check them out. You might as well with a free trial like that at Shady Rays. Once you've got your sunglasses in, make sure you're putting them on to drive in your Toyota. Go check out your local Front Range Toyota dealerships today. Get yourself into the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. Of course, Toyota has a vehicle for everyone with 17 different all-wheel drive vehicles, from trucks to SUVs to sedans, whatever it might be, they've got you covered. And they even have 16 hybrid options, the most of anyone, and that includes the iForce Max Tundra truck, so hybrid trucks to boot when it comes to Toyota. They're the official vehicle of DNVR, and make sure you're checking them out at your local Front Range Toyota dealerships, which includes, but is not limited to, AutoNation Toyota in Arapahoe, I think. Hang on, I got to pull up the list. I don't remember them off the top of my head. AutoNation Toyota in Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Again, they're the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. I want to continue this forward conversation, but before we do, we have a little graphic we can pull up here. Eric, you've got some buddies that are running a ball hockey league here, it sounds like.
Yes. You know what? It's a big... let me put it up because, as you know, I can't read, right? So
it's up there for you.
I know, but like I can't read. Like
you gotta get those Shady Rays, but
yes, it's skills coach here in town, Danny Perez, former University of Maine Boo. Player, good guy. Perez Hockey, you can reach him if you have a kid in town here. Does private lessons, outstanding. And Max McCutcheon, here's Danny right there. But it's a ball hockey tournament October 19th at the Metzler Ranch Hockey Rinks there, I believe in Parker. You can just look at Colorado Cup Hockey at gmail.com. It's a ball hockey tournament there's 3 different categories, like U12, whatever it is. Like I think it's self-explanatory once you go on it, and that you make a team, and you can win. If you buy a ticket, you get a ticket to a Chicago Blackhawks game here against. It's in conjunction with the Avalanche.
Yep.
And the winning team gets to go on the bench for warm up. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. From little kids to adults, right? There's 3 different categories, and I love ball hockey. I'm going to be there. I told Danny this morning, I said, I'm going to be there. I'd love to make a team. We'll see what happens. But growing up, I love ball hockey. So whenever there's something like that with referees and little courts set up and everything, and a little prize at the end, who doesn't like to win? Maybe you and me make a team and we get Giz. And
I don't think we're going to win if we make that team. But
we are. We're going to be very robust. We're going to have some truculence, like Brian Burke says, and then we're going to go out there and intimidate the younger guys and then go for it. But
do you say so?
Anyway, sign up, and if you want to look, it'd be awesome. I mean, it sounds like an awesome opportunity, and I told Danny we'd put that out there. So
there you go. Colorado Cup on
go.
Instagram.
Yes.
Go look at them. Go sign up and enjoy some ball hockey. All right, getting back into it. Look, I think it's pretty established at this point. Bednar has borderline gushed about Nikolai Kovalenko. He's going to get his opportunity.
Yeah.
Cal Ritchie, the way he's talked about him, he's going to get his opportunity. So if we cross those 2 guys as in the lineup, after these most recent cuts, that leaves you with Ivan, who we've already talked about. It leaves you with Parker Kelly. It leaves you with Chris Wagner. And who am I forgetting?
TJ Tynan.
Joel Kiviranta.
Tynan's still there.
Yeah.
But if you read Bednar between the lines, when he does his pressers, like I think he's been impressed by him. I've always been impressed by him. I just wish he was a bit bigger and everything. But
that's the problem. He can't play a bottom 6 role.
No, I know. But we'll see what happens with it. He could be an option here. We'll see.
Realistically, if you're assuming Belmar is 4C as well, what the Avs have left to decide is 2 wing spots on your 4th line.
Pretty much.
For Tynan, Ivan, Kiviranta, Kelly, and Wagner.
Wags, yep.
Now, realistically, I think they see Wagner as a C. He's probably their 5th C, first call-up type guy.
Yeah.
So 4 guys to fill 2 wing spots.
Pretty much.
Today, who are you taking?
I'm going to give you my answers in a second here, but Randy says make him tough decisions is always the best play. I agree.
Yep.
I believe yesterday were easy decisions for the coaching staff. You see the difference?
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we agree with that. Land of missed opportunities. You know what I mean? And again, becoming an NHL regular sounds very simple. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Everybody would do it. Your neighbor, your cousin. It's not easy. With that said, to answer your question, I do believe Parker Kelly finds a way in there. Correct?
Yeah.
And again, I do believe Ivan finds a way in. It's just my gut.
To start, though?
Yeah, that's my gut to start. Again,
all right.
You have to look at, you do the math with the waivers, right? You're not going to want to lose guys like, let's say Parker Kelly. I can't do that because I just put him in. But
yeah.
But if Brännström got hurt, again, we don't know what's going on. Maybe he's out for a week or whatever it is. You can make decisions on forwards a little easier. So I think it's a floating little roster until you have to put your people in. But if you go by today's lines, that I sent you, right? At practice.
Yeah.
Boy, it's a great question. I mean, it's a great question. So
they're all going to get in these last couple of preseason games. So,
I mean, we all know the top line's going to stay the same, right? And then let's say that 20 ends up with Middlestat, and Ritchie,
sure,
right? So now that gives you Kovalenko. Is it Parker Kelly? Is it Belmar? Is it with O'Connor, I'm talking about. I don't know. To answer you, I forgot. Did you ask me about Belly? Like Belmar? Was Belmar on your
I
list
had
though?
assumed Belmar was forced.
We're assuming Belmar's in. So I'm saying Parker Kelly and Kovalenko's in there, obviously.
Kovalenko's in for sure. Kovalenko and Ritchie are locked in for the start of the year.
I'm going with Parker Kelly, and I'm going with frickin' Ivan.
I love the optimism. I love the optimism.
Kivvy's going to be there. Ivan doesn't have to clear waivers.
You know
He'll
it's
be back.
going to be Kivy.
So it might be happening. I'm going to go Kivy
Ranta.
Ranta.
Come on.
Ivan doesn't have to clear waivers. Unfortunately, that's part. I've been there. I know what it's like.
Yep.
So I'm going to go Kivy Ranta and
Kelly for those last two spots.
Yeah. And again,
I think that's
Ivan
the right
is he's just lurking.
Yeah.
He's lurking. I love it.
Nick's in the chat asked about Andre Pavel and his injury hurting his chances. It doesn't look great right now. Just what he's doing is skating by himself without even a stick in his hand.
Yeah.
So he's clearly got a ways to go to get back healthy. I agree with you. Before that injury, he was in that mix of guys like Poland and Ivan, but now who knows?
Well, bigger guy, right? Bigger guy can take a face off. Limited in my mind compared to Ivan.
Six guy,
he's
sure.
very limited.
I think Ivan
but again, it's
has
so
some
hard.
limitations
too. He's
too.
been hurt. Yeah, he does. But
Pavel is more of your, and I say this endearingly. I don't mean this as a diss or anything, but he's more of your typical bottom six blockhead, go run into stuff type of guy.
Yeah, he's like a mid reliever.
Whereas Ivan survives by playing an intelligent hockey game.
Yeah,
just two different players.
But it's unfortunate because he seems to work hard, and we talked about that at rookie face-off. A lot of guys came up to me. They're like, "Who's this Ivan?" Not Ivan, but a lot of people said that, but not because he's a Alan Walsh client, but because people were like, "Who is that? He's good." But a lot of people asked about Andre Pavel and said, "Who is that?" You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of people missed him last year because he was injured. He ended up playing 40 games or whatever it was.
He played a game, 2 games for the Avs.
But I'm talking about the American League, right? Because
he missed time. He missed time.
Guy, if you miss him, if you were on the circuit earlier, it is what it is. Then you're like, you miss him. You don't know who he is. Then you look back, you're like, who is that? I didn't hear about him last year. But we'll see. Strong PK guy, and this is not a sexy guy. You know what I mean? It's not shiny, but can be there with face-offs and PK. You can carve out like a nice career. We just got to make sure the injuries are out of the way, right, for him.
And it's impossible to predict the future. There will be injuries for the Avalanche as the season goes on, and the best you can do is position yourself to be the guy that gets called up when that inevitably does happen.
100%.
So, Pavel, again, a weird situation because we don't really know how long it's going to be until he's healthy. He's technically on the Avs roster, but he's going to get put on season opening injury reserve immediately. So
you just brought something, like you said, you want to make sure you put yourself on to be the first guy called up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, that's another subject.
Yep.
You might think you're the guy that's ready to go. You might think that's the guy that's playing the best. The next thing you know, the call comes, it's not you.
Yeah.
Buddy, it's a tough day.
I bet.
It's a tough day. And you're at practice and you got your head down, and that's where guys like Schneeks and Danny Heino are going to be fantastic. And Tim, down there. You got to go, and oh, Rudo's going to be mad. AJ got called up, and it's nothing to do with AJ, right? It's just that it's your career. You want to be the guy. You feel you've done everything, and then the call doesn't come. Coaches have a job to do down there when it comes down to those situations, because those situations are real. I've been in the minors where the two goalies actually went at it, and the wives went at it. My husband should be called up, and or my boyfriend, whatever it was. No, it's mine. And then there's a fight in there, and you're like, oh my God, this is out of hand. And you talk about all intelligent, nice people, but when it comes down to that, it's tough. It's tough. It's not a fun call that day. If it's not you.
Look, I'm glad I'm not the family of a hockey player.
It's not fun.
Sitting in the stands, no control over it. I would not enjoy that. That would not be a fun time.
Yep.
Maybe I shouldn't have kids. Maybe I shouldn't have kids is what that's telling me. Okay, we do have to take one quick pause here, and then we'll come back for the last period and wrap things up. All right. So, final period here. You talked about it a little bit. We started getting into it with that Colton conversation. Is Jared Bednar serious about some of these looks we're going to see in these last 2 preseason games? Colton on the wing with maybe your Parker Kelly as your 3C, or is this hey, I'm just getting a look at this so I know it could be an option if I need it later?
Maybe a little bit of both. Again, I keep saying that to your questions. I feel like I'm never answering.
Yeah, you
like
and AJ love answering both.
You know I don't like to sit on the fence. I hate that. That's a bad scout. But I think he owes it to his group. He owes it to himself, right? And he owes it to those players to see. Again, a lot is floating with Lehkonen. Let's say he is missing, like we talked about, 2-3 games. It's just a matter of like, how do we get 6 points out of those 3 games, right? You know what I mean? And what's our best lineup? What's our best possibilities to be 3-0? And that's his job as a coach. Now, again, I'll bring it out there in case he's listening. And, this should be on the Ice of Family Sports. I'm sure he's tuned in. But again, I do bring Mikko to the table, especially for those 3 games.
Sure.
Let it go. Max can be fine. He's got Joe Druin and whoever can go on the right. Put Kovalenko down the right side. Doesn't matter. But what I'm trying to say is give Mittelstadt the freaking Mikko to Mittelstadt.
Yeah.
And then keep the 3 amigos together, right? The chaos line. I don't know. Those are options. I would love for him to tinker with it a little bit next couple of games. We'll see. I don't care if it's a period or a few shifts, just to see what it feels like. I'll tell you one thing. If I'm Casey Mittelstadt, no offense to the guys that are, your job's to make people better, right? But I'll tell you one thing. You look on the board that day at practice, and Casey's what, 37?
Yeah.
37, not years old.
You see 71 and 51 on your wings?
Well, that's okay.
That's tough.
No, that's all
tough
right.
day.
You know what I mean? But it's like if you see 96, buddy, you go put a little bit of hair on the mirror at practice and you're like, I'm ready to go today. You're like, you know what I mean? Like, I got a 54 goal score on my wing. If that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what does.
That's what I'm saying. Would you rather have that, or would you? Nothing against Ritchie and Kovalenko, but
we said that before.
One of those guys is an all-star, and those other guys have no experience in North America, basically.
That's my point. So I think that, I mean, man, oh man. And what an opportunity for Mikko to go, hey, listen, it could only be 3 games, whatever it is, because Lecky's coming back. Wink, wink. We all know. Don't tell Rudo. But go out there and dominate with Mittelstadt. I think it would be unbelievable. Again, Mikko would be unbelievable with anybody. He's an unbelievable world-class player. But I just think it would just give Mittelstadt some wings. And I just wish, and I hope that we'll see it a little bit.
Well, here's the underlying, and I know a couple of people have mentioned it in chat, but it's a contract year for Mikko Rantanen.
Absolutely.
Time to show out. Earn that $12 million, buddy.
And there's no, was it the disrespect she said? Was it Sharon? Disrespect to Ritchie? But no, I think that's sarcasm, I'm hoping. Or
I'm sure. Yeah.
There's no disrespect. He's never played a game in the National Hockey League. So it's not until you do, then then you gain the respect of your peers, your teammates, and everything, or people talking about it. But yeah,
and we both think Ritchie will be in the lineup opening night.
So that's not disrespectful. We're saying that is a different option at the disposition of Coach Bednar, because he's different, meaning he is high-end skill compared to the other guys, and that's why we think he's going to be in the lineup.
I'll tell you what, if Cal Ritchie is 80% as good as Mikko Rantanen this year, the Avs are winning the Stanley Cup.
Well, yes. Mikko's unreal.
That's all. Just say it. And look, I think Ritchie has a lot to earn. I think it's going to be hard for him to stick in the NHL this year. I think he'll get games, but the math just gets harder every day.
I'll say it again, so we're on the same page. We're all friends here with the chat. Like, the toughest thing to do to achieve is what? As a young player, it's
baby.
consistency. It's not a cliche. It's real. It's real. Bednar talks about it every day. It's hard. They are not used to that. You get by, and you've been the best player of where you've been. Now you go into the best players in the world, and you're younger. It's hard. It's hard to achieve consistency, and that's the toughest thing for young players in this league. It doesn't matter if you're a high-end talent or an Ivan that comes out of nowhere, not drafted. You know what I mean? You have to achieve consistency. Once you do that, and that's what he learned a lot last year. That's why I love the American Hockey League. I love the American Hockey League, not necessarily for a guy like Ritchie. I'm talking about for a guy like Ivan, right? You go learn. You go learn how to be consistent. You go to learn how to put the working boots on every day, no matter what the situation, no matter what who's on your wing, your center. I told you, I played with my equipment manager in the American League. So we didn't get out of our end every time he was on the ice. Love you, Redsy. It's all good. But it's life, right? That's how it works. You got to pivot and you got to go with what's thrown at you.
Two things I want to touch on here. One, I got to give Eric some credit here. Here's an exact quote from Jared Bednar after practice today.
From today, I wasn't there. Can't lie. I wasn't there.
I wish some guys would have stepped up and elevated their game more, and they just didn't when talking about that group of forwards that got cut.
Guys, it's again, I'm going to use Jason Poland. I'm going to use him, right? We were pulling for him. There's no punt here. But it's like you got to show that it is the last thing on earth that you want. It's just like you want it so bad that they have no choice. And I didn't see that from all the names that were on that list yesterday. I didn't see it. And boy, oh boy, would I want to see it. Jean-Luc Foudy, I want to see something. I don't want to hear, I only played 4 shifts. It's 4 more shifts than Alyssa had last night. It's 4 more shifts than you and me. It's 4 more shifts than little Billy that was in the building. I don't care if it's 1 or 4. You got to show that's what you want. And I think it was an easy decision for Bednar, and I feel bad about that because it's a missed opportunity for those guys.
And the final thing, Chat already mentioning it here, Jared Bednar did say Brännström is doing okay and even got a light workout in.
Andrew said he's not dead.
What I will say is I'm not a doctor, so don't take anything with I say as like serious conversations, but the way the accident, the crash into the boards was described is that he was a little bit woozy and had a hard time standing up. To me, that says potential concussion. With concussion, you have to be careful. You can wake up the next day and then you have symptoms and things like that. So don't rush him is all I would say. If he's fine, great, awesome. If there are issues, then you're okay. You have other defense.
And he's played a lot of games right now, so it's fine. And it's like, take it easy. Let's make sure he's good. It sounded awkward, right? It sounded awkward. And but yeah, jump on the Eagles should be good this year. Absolutely. And a lot of people around the league, like good friends with Marco Sturm, coaching Ontario. It was like, man, I mean, they stacked up a little bit. Matthew Phillips, outstanding hockey player. He's going to be awesome dynamite down there. Who knows if TJ Tynan's going to be down there. Megna's an unbelievable hockey player for the American. They got some good guys, and I think that it's important we all know they're not the deepest prospect pool in the history of the NHL and in the history of American Hockey League, but I do believe winning is developing. So when you have some winners down there, you have some guys that can, put up a lot of points down there. They help you win. It helps the young guys down there. Ivan Ivans, if he ends up down there or whatever. I hope not. I'm knocking on wood. And then things like that to make sure these guys develop. The Sean Barons. And it's important to have good, solid veterans, like McDonald and Rosen around them. That's assuming that Rosen clears waivers. And you never know. I mean, we'll see, right? Same with Matthew Phillips and guys like that. You never know. He went on waivers twice last year. Got picked up twice. So, heart of a lion, little guy, but outstanding hockey player. But you're right. Eagles should be good this year. Absolutely.
I hope they are. I hope the Avs are even better, to be honest.
That is the most important part, unfortunately. That's not a negative comment to the Eagles, but you're bang on.
Yeah.
Winning cures all.
Winning in the AHL is fun. No disrespect to the Eagles guys, but in my opinion, the AHL should be a developmental league first and a league you're trying to win second.
And that's why I said, for me, you combine the two of them, and God, I'm a genius. Right?
Maybe you should run the AHL, buddy.
Yes. No, I talked to K-Mac this morning. God, what a good Bostonian, good man. Kevin McDonald, been around the league forever. Good man, knows what the Eagles are in great hand with Kevin McDonald and Aaron Schneekloth and Ryan Bach and those guys. You know what? This is not being biased. This is being truthful. The Eagles are in great hands down there, and they got a great coaching staff and great ownership. And, wow, what a model franchise that is for the American Hockey League.
The work is far from done for the Avs, not just in preseason, but as the season gets ramped up. Technically, the NHL season starts on Friday. Make sure after this podcast is done, you go check out our full season previews of all 4 divisions. They're dropping today on this very YouTube channel. Go check them out. Go make your own predictions. Go make fun of us for our bad predictions. Do whatever you want to do. Make sure you like and subscribe here on YouTube so you get notified when videos like that do come out. As we are wrapping up the show here, Eric, I got one more question for you. Asked by Wayne in the chat, I think. Last D pairing. I think we both feel pretty confident DeHaan's unique role will put him on that pairing. Who takes the other spot?
I won't sit on the fence.
All right,
but
we're not getting a vote.
I will soften it up. I
Yeah,
will soften it up because I really, 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 really like all 8. I do.
By game 4, all of them will have.
That's my
played.
point.
Like,
I really. So it's no disrespect to Shillington, which I don't think he's had the best preseason.
He is not.
So, but I know what he's capable of. I think it's going to be an asset for the Avalanche. No disrespect to Eric Brännström. I like him. Nice man, friend of the show, been on our show. Good person, good player. More than dependable player. He's an NHL player. He's going to help the Avalanche. But if you're asking me, and I got to give you an answer, I go DeHaan on the last because of a different skill set, right? Veteran.
Yeah. I agree.
Simple.
I think DeHaan's the easy one.
PK. And I go with Sam Malinsky because for me, Sam Malinsky's been the best of all of them. And if I'm fair to Sam, and I like lefty-righty. I mean, I know coaches do. I just do. I mean, that's the coach talking a little bit right now. I like lefty-righty. I just do. So,
all right, there you go. 100% factually accurate. Eric can see the future, so that's a guarantee right there. That's all I had. Anything else you wanted to add from practice for today, Eric?
No, I just, like I said, I like the intensity. I know that they're going to go out there in the morning, right? At Family Sports, get a couple groups probably, sounds like it, because I think there'll be some game players, right, that are taking a little bit lighter skate than the other guys that are not going to be playing. Will probably have a little bit of more of a workout on the ice, and then they're going to get to signature, fly out, get to the game, and then I do believe that they're staying there, and then or going that night to Salt Lake, and then they'll have a couple days in Salt Lake. They're not coming back here. They're going
straight
directly
to Vegas
those 2
after,
cities, which is good. A little group bonding, a little card playing, a little dinner, a little get to know one another, right? You know, all that kind of stuff. Very important. And then come back home for a little bit, and then of course they go back for that 1 game road trip for the opener there in Vegas. But I think it's important. I'm glad they're doing this. I'm not a big fan of the game day travel. It just throws off. If you're a routine guy like myself, I know it bothers the guys, but I know it's preseason. I get it, but it just kind of throws you off. And then, as we saw the other day, anything can happen. Like Utah's plane got delayed, and next thing you know, they just walked in the building late, and it was kind of a cluster. You know what I mean? And again, my point doesn't work because they came out and they won pretty handily. So they didn't let that affect them as an excuse. So, but again, I think it's important that they get out there, have some fun, and should be a nice last 2 games before knowing about the roster. See if we were right.
We'll see. We'll have to see. Make sure you go check out Giz's game story if you missed the game the other night. Game story's all you need. I promise. You don't need to relive that game.
Read it and then delete it.
Other than that, we will be back tomorrow. Another watch along for the Avs game. So join us here. Again, like and subscribe on YouTube. That helps us out a ton. We'll be back then. We're off Friday, but we'll be back Saturday to talk with you guys. So we hope to see you in the next one. Until then, we'll talk to you later.
We all silly like the mayor.